come on, let's get it going. Sorry if I've already broken some Toastmaster rules. But as Corey, you introduced me. My name is Vik. You can call me Vik, that's my full name. And I want to thank Maureen as well for being my mentor, for doing an awesome job so far to get me up and running with all of you. And I want to say I'm really looking forward to taking on this journey with all of you. I have a lot of goals, and I'm really looking forward to the feedback that I'm getting and seeing where this journey goes. So, as Corey said, actually I don't think you mentioned my title, but the title of my icebreaker speech is I'm living the American dream, baby, as you can see. So, no, I'm not a millionaire just yet, or no, I'm not married to a smoking hot trophy wife yet. But what I do have for me is I'm on the pursuit of happiness every single day, and I'm married to the grind. So for all intents and purposes, I am living the American dream. So you may be wondering, where does the American dream come from for a skinny brown kid like me? Well, I was born in South Central India in a small town called Karimnagar. And when I say small, I mean by Indian standards, it's about the same size as Greater Kansas City. After about a few years there, with my parents and we moved to Singapore, and we spent about 5 years there, most of my elementary school. And at that point, my parents had a chance to act on one of their dreams, which was to move our entire family to the shining city on a hill, America. So a couple stories to illustrate the transition for me. Number one, growing up in Singapore in elementary school, I was a straight C student, maybe a few B's here and there. And I remember when I first moved here, they had me take some tests, and I don't know what they were thinking, but they put me in some honors classes, and next thing you know, I was getting mostly A's, and I just remembered, I was just like, no child left behind, right? And then another story I remember is growing up, I had a favorite toy, and I actually don't even remember exactly what it was, but let's just pretend in this case it was a toy truck. And before I moved to the States, I was just like, man, anything is possible in America. And when I moved there, I'm gonna have this toy truck that I had broken fixed here. You can probably all imagine how the story ended up, but well, I moved here, and the first thing I realized is, this is good old-fashioned consumerism. The best way to fix something is to throw it out and get yourself a new one. This is my kind of humor, by the way. So we finally moved here. We settled in Kansas City. My dad got a job at Sprint, and one of the dreams that my parents had for me was to send me to a good school, and I ended up getting into engineering college at the University of Illinois. And I had lofty goals when I was, when I set foot on campus, lofty academic goals, I should clarify. And all up until I read this book that was recommended by a few friends of mine called The 4-Hour Workweek. And some of you guys may have heard, and that changed my entire perspective on what I was working for in my life. And a few months after that, I had a chance to act out another one of my dreams, which was to study abroad in Europe, specifically Freiburg, Germany, which was the green capital of Germany. And by the end of my semester there, I was sold on the power of solar energy, pun intended. I came back to the States, and I went back to college, and I took as many of the renewable energy and environmental engineering classes that I could. And I showed up at career fairs, and fortunately, there were no solar energy companies hiring. And so I did what any rational person would do. I dropped out of college, and I said, let me figure out what I can do to get my foothold into the solar industry. And as my friends were graduating and walking across the stage, I hustled, and I was able to get a full-time job in St. Louis at a solar company, which looking back was actually my dream job. And a year later, I met a couple of mutual friends of mine, and in Houston, and I ended up moving there to start a company, which is a crazy story, but last year we ended up selling the company, and I grew up with that, right? You know, starting from, creating our business plan all the way until, selling the company last year. Like, I literally grew up, before my parents' lives, as they would say. But I hit what the millennials call a quarter-life crisis. And I had a lot of questions going on in my life. I was like, what am I doing? What am I about? And all this stuff. And at that point, I decided, let me just suck it up, move back home, and figure out what I want to do with my next steps. So what was supposed to be a few months pit stop ended up being closer to 18 months now that I've been at home. And there have been a lot of cool community organizations and a lot of really cool books that I have gotten to read over the last 18 months. And if any of these ring a bell to you, come talk to me afterward. I'm passionate about these things. And as of 6 months ago, I'm starting my next business venture, and I'm beyond excited to be able to work on it full time. And so all that to say, if I'm not living the American dream, I don't know who is. So I want to just say to all of you, who wants to join both of us to live out your own? So that's it for me.